President Trump is sending Democrats into therapy. He's not doing it on purpose. It's not forceful. They're going on their own accord. This just happens to be one of the byproducts of President Trump winning re-election just a few weeks ago. There's a report out from Fox News that Representative Darrell Issa from California is questioning Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, for State Department hosting of in-house therapy sessions after President Donald Trump won the election. Apparently, there's some concern in the State Department that the State Department officials and workers are a little stressed out or overwhelmed or just, out of their minds that President Trump won re-election. And Darrell is concerned that the department is catering to federal employees who are personally devastated by the normal functioning of American democracy through the provision of government-funded mental health counseling, because Kamala Harris was not elected president of the United States of America. This just shines a light once again on the need for government oversight, on the need for a department like the Department of Government Efficiency, which President Trump has now established with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, to come in and cut out these ridiculous ideas and these ridiculous wastes of taxpayer money. I'm not saying that State Department officials don't deserve therapy or need therapy. I'm sure there's a lot of Democrats in the government who have needed therapy for a very, very long time. I'm just saying the taxpayers should not be forced to pick up the tab for these people's mental issues. And speaking of the Doge, there's a brand new Doge caucus in Congress led by Representative Aaron Bean from Florida and Representative Sessions from Texas. They're going to be working very closely with the Department of Government Efficiency, with Vivek Ramaswamy, with Elon Musk, to make sure that President Trump's plan to slash the cost and the pork and all of the other waste in government by $2 trillion is executed according to plan and on time. We'll be chatting with Representative Aaron Bean a little later today on our secondary podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. That's our longer live news commentary podcast where we do interviews with lawmakers of the day who are doing the government's business. Aaron Bean is one of them, and he'll be joining us, like I said, today at noon Eastern, 11 Central. So please download Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, noon Eastern, 11 Central today for that full interview with Doge Caucus founder, Representative Aaron Bean. In other news, Friday night, President Trump rounded out his entire cabinet. In fact, the cabinet is now 100% full, at least on the Senate confirmation level. J.D. Vance as the vice president, Marco Rubio. He announced on Friday a couple of other high-profile positions, including a statement that he released on Friday afternoon that said it's his great honor to nominate Brooke L. Rollins from the great state of Texas to serve as the 33rd United States Secretary of Agriculture. This came after a lot of speculation that this position would be given to Kelly Loeffler from Georgia. Just another reason why you should never jump to conclusions when it comes to President Trump's transition team. You should never listen to the fake news media. You should never take unsubstantiated reports. You should make sure you're subscribed to the 47 Daily so that you can get the information direct from President Trump to my mouth, to your ears for the next 4 years. Brooke, President Trump says, was on my 2016 Economic Advisory Council and did an incredible job during my first term as the director of the Domestic Policy Council, director of the Office of American Innovation, and assistant to the president for strategic initiatives. Brooke's commitment to support the American farmer, defense of American food self-sufficiency, and the restoration of agriculture-dependent American small towns is second to none. She went to Texas A&M. She has a bachelor's degree in agriculture, and she is going to spearhead the effort to protect American farmers who are the backbone of our country. Congratulations to Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins also was seen on the campaign trail with President Trump from time to time. You may recognize her from some of her speeches at various campaign rallies, and she is a staunch America First MAGA Republican, which is what President Trump wants. He wants loyalty to himself, and he wants loyalty to the cause of making America great again. Another appointment, he said that he's pleased to nominate Scott Turner from Texas, another Texan, as the Secretary of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Scott played for the NFL. During his first term, he served as the first executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, helping to lead an unprecedented effort that transformed our country's most distressed communities. Those efforts, working together with former HUD Secretary Ben Carson, were maximized by Scott's guidance in overseeing 16 federal agencies, which implemented more than 200 policy actions furthering economic development. Now, this is important because Dr. Ben Carson, who was the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, worked very closely with Scott Turner. And so Scott Turner kind of learned from the best and will be carrying on the torch. Scott is the founder and CEO of his family's foundation, Community Engagement and Opportunity Council, working to revitalize communities across America through sports, mentorship, and economic opportunity. Scott will work alongside me to make America great again for every American. Congratulations to Scott. So there is Scott Turner again taking the helm at the Housing and Urban Development Division of the United States government as secretary and working very closely with President Trump in that important department. And then, of course, the big nomination, one of the biggest ones that we've been waiting for, which took a couple weeks because President Trump was going back and forth between a couple of contenders. He brought in a couple of other last-minute potentials. He interviewed them. At the end of the day, though, on Friday, about 6:55 in the evening, President Trump announced that Scott Bessent will serve as the 79th Secretary of the Treasury of the United States. Scott is widely respected as one of the world's most foremost international investors and geopolitical and economic strategists. Scott's story is that of the American dream. Scott Bessent has long been thought of as the pick for Treasury Secretary. However, there were other parties who were interested. Howard Lutnick, who eventually became Commerce Secretary and will work closely with Scott Bessent on President Trump's the tariff package and how he plans to revitalize the economy and bring American jobs back and make sure that America is the economic dominant factor in the world, just like it was before. And Scott's job is to work with President Trump closely on doing all of that. Scott is a Wall Street veteran, which makes it easy for him to work with Wall Street types. And as a result, the Wall Street community has not really overreacted to this choice because he knows these CEOs and because he knows Wall Street pretty well. It seems like the stock market and the S&P aren't going to fluctuate too much because of Scott's choice. For whatever reason, they believe he's the calm choice. There was some back and forth between Elon Musk and Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick online, but President Trump believes that this is the guy. Scott has long been a strong advocate of the America First agenda. On the eve of our great country's 250th anniversary, he will help me usher in a new golden age for the United States as we fortify our position as the world's leading economy, center of innovation and entrepreneurialism, destination for capital, while always and without question maintaining the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency of the world. And that's something that's been under threat. A lot of countries have decided to move away from the dollar or have announced that they're thinking of moving away from the dollar, and that would be devastating to our country. That's something that's happened over the last 4 years with President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Donald Trump will work with Scott Bessent to reverse that trend. And, it's an interesting choice as well, because Scott Bessent becomes the first openly gay member of President Trump's cabinet. President Trump, he dumped a lot of other nominations, it was a flurry of interesting stuff coming out over the weekend. He nominated Marty Makary, MD, as the commissioner of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And Marty Makary is very similar to RFK Jr. He's not as hell-bent on vaccinations. He's a little critical or questions some of the policies that the previous administration had, especially regarding COVID response and that kind of thing. Dr. Makary has been a pioneer in the fields of public health, cancer care, and surgery, and a tireless voice for vulnerable populations. He is the recipient of the Nobility in Science Award from the National Pancreas Foundation and numerous teaching awards. So that's another soldier in the army of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who will be making America healthy again. He also announced that Congressman Dave Weldon is going to be the director of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC in Atlanta. Dave Weldon was a congressman here in Florida for a very long time. He's also a doctor for 40 years. Americans have lost trust in the CDC, says President Trump, and our federal health authorities who have engaged in censorship, data manipulation, and misinformation. Given the current chronic health crisis in our country, the CDC must step up and correct past errors to focus on the prevention of disease. Dave will proudly restore the CDC to its true purpose and will work to end the chronic disease epidemic and make America healthy again. No word on how involved Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was with these selections. However, when you look at these selections and when you look at their past and their teachings and their writings and their beliefs, it seems like these guys vibe really well with what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is doing. They have the similar ideas. They've had similar questions about the same things that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has questioned. So it's really interesting to see how this team is coming together, and they will be the Doge of American health. They will make sure that the CDC, that the FDA, that all of the health agencies, the NIH, the immune laboratories, all these places are going to be working under the guidance of President Trump and his select advisors, and that they'll be doing what they need to do without overstepping their boundaries. Because government overreach has been a problem in every single aspect of our government for so long. In the State Department, in law enforcement, in the IRS, the FBI, the CIA, and now, of course, in the health community, which we've seen during COVID. It looks like RFK Jr., along with Dave Weldon and Dr. McCary, they're all going to be changing the face of that. And then there was another nomination that came out for Surgeon General. I'm proud to announce that Dr. Jeanette Neishwat will be the nation's doctor as the United States Surgeon General. Dr. Neishwat is a double board certified medical doctor with an unwavering commitment to saving and treating thousands of American lives. Now, she's also a Fox News contributor and does differ a little bit more with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in some of her ideas about vaccinations, about America's health, about COVID relief, about that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if the Surgeon General and RFK Jr. create some spirited debates and give President Trump kind of two sides of the issue that he can work with when he's making decisions. You may recognize her, like I said, from Fox News. This is yet another Fox News personality who has been chosen for President Trump's cabinet. There's a lot of them. We all know that he likes to. We all know that he likes to watch Fox News. However, I should point out that it's not just Fox News personalities who are getting into President Trump's orbit. Dr. Sebastian Gorka from Newsmax has been brought back to the United States government as deputy assistant to the president and senior director for counterterrorism. Alex Wong has also been appointed as assistant to the president and principal deputy national security advisor. Alex Wong served with President Trump during his first term as deputy special representative for North Korea. Alex received his JD with high honors from Harvard, where he was the managing editor of the Harvard Law Review. Dr. Sebastian Gorka will be returning to the White House as deputy assistant to the president and senior director for counterterrorism. Since 2015, Dr. Gorka has been a tireless advocate for the America First agenda and the MAGA movement. Dr. Gorka is a legal immigrant to the United States with more than 30 years of national security experience. So it'll be interesting to see Sebastian Gorka back in the White House with his national security acumen. He is one of the foremost leading experts on national security. That is why he had such a successful show on Newsmax, and that is why President Trump tapped him to return to Washington, D.C. to help with the effort to make America safe again. Now, as you can see, the cabinet is fully filled out. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Doug Burgum, Brooke Rollins, Howard Lutnick, Lori Chavez DeRemer is Labor Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Scott Turner, Sean Duffy, Chris Wright, Linda McMahon, Doug Collins, and Kristi Noem at Homeland Security. All of this is coming together very quickly. And now it's just a matter of getting Donald Trump's nominees through Congress and through the Senate and doing it very quickly. There's been a bunch of back and forth on television and in the news the past couple of days. There's an effort by the news agencies to kind of delegitimize, if you will, President Trump's mandate. President Trump clearly received a mandate from the American people. There's absolutely no denying that. When you look at the numbers, when you look at how President Trump won the electoral victory by almost 100 electoral votes, when you see how he won the popular vote for the first time in a very long time, a Republican president was able to do that. That is something that is substantial, and that is something that clearly says the American people want this to be the direction for the country moving forward. But there's a bunch of fake news outlets out there who just don't want to believe it, and they're trying to sell you on a different story. Caroline Leavitt, the new press secretary, wrote, she pinned a couple of these articles. One was from Politico, which wrote, "Calling Trump's win resounding isn't just wrong, it's risky." I don't know how. The New York Times wrote, "The landslide that wasn't. Trump and allies pump up his narrow victory." Now, the reason that they are trying to downplay President Trump's mandate is because they realize President Trump has a mandate. And if Americans believe it, they will be supportive of him making these outlier picks for his cabinet and giving these outlier picks for his cabinet the necessary freedom to do what they need to do to execute the plan that the American people put forth. So while he has a mandate, and that's clear, there's no doubting that, the fake news' narrative now is to make you think he does not, and that any decision he makes will be overreach and without the full support of the majority of the American people. But President Trump defeated Kamala Harris by well over 2 million votes, which is odd for a Republican to do. President Trump was the one to do it. Mike Waltz, who is the new national security advisor and current congressman from Florida, was on Fox News, and he described the
Just tell you from my approach, President Trump has a mandate to execute these policies that he has outlined and to continue the great policies he had in his first term.
Yeah, and the reason, once again, that the mandate is so important is because when you have a president and you have a Senate and you have a House of Representatives, all of the same party, and you have a majority of the population all on the same side, it makes it a lot easier for these things to pass. Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma was also on CNN over the weekend, and he said, look, it's nobody's fault but Joe Biden's. People didn't like the current president, so they chose one.
The American people gave President Trump a mandate because they want to change the way government has been working. Government has been working for a party, not for the people. And President Trump is putting people there that's going to make changes. And unfortunately, the establishment is trying to hold that back and trying to find every little piece of detail they can to say that this person is disqualified.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're starting to see. The mandate didn't just come from President Trump. These picks are not just coming from President Trump off the top of his head. These are the picks coming from the American people. These are the picks that the president wants. He wants these folks in office. We've known it for a while. We've known it because he's taken them out on the campaign trail with him. And Eric Schmidt from Missouri was also on the Sunday morning talk shows and said he deserves to get him confirmed quickly.
I think President Trump deserves the ability, with the mandate that he got for the American people, to put people in positions who are going to do reform. There's some things we can do in Congress, oversight and legislation, but you really need reformers at the head of these different agencies. And I think you're seeing that as a common theme. I'm sure we'll talk about more of them, but there really is a lot of reform that needs to happen in the administrative state. And he's talked about it a lot on the campaign trail. And like I said, he's delivering on that.
Yeah. So there you go. President Trump has a mandate. He's delivering on it, even though the fake news media is pushing back on it. But you're going to hear this word mandate a lot. You're going to hear it a lot in the coming days. The left is going to tell you, no, President Trump doesn't have a mandate. And President Trump and his surrogates and his supporters in Congress, in Senate, and on television are going to tell you, oh, yes, he does.
Mandate.
Yeah, mandate. Listen, don't forget, later on today on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, we will be chatting with Congressman Aaron Bean, the head of the Doge Caucus, newly formed in the House of Representatives. So make sure you check that out on our second podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, which airs every day at noon Eastern, 11 Central. You can download it wherever you get your podcasts. Please do so. Listen and enjoy.